so you can play.
Matthew here from MiniWarGaming.com, and in this video series I am going to give my initial impressions on Warhammer 40k 7th edition. Just came out on the weekend, so I want to just give a few disclaimers before I even get into this. First of all, I haven't played a game yet. Dave is actually playing it right now. He's recording our first ever 7th edition 40k bat reps, and they're having a lot of fun. So I have to say it's kind of cool. They're doing unbound stuff and psychic stuff and conjuring stuff and all sorts of crazy stuff, and you can look forward to that coming up next week. If this video goes out when I want it to, we're smack dab in the middle of Farewell, the 6th edition battle report week, where we're just dumping all of our 6th edition battle reports because, well, it's 7th edition now, so we got to get them out so we can get into 7th edition instead. I have my first game this Friday. It's going to be Chaos versus Tyranids, I think. Either that or Chaos versus Necrons. Probably Tyranids, because I got to use my Tyranids first. So what this series of videos is going to be is, first off, it's going to kind of show you what's changed from 6th edition to 7th edition, so you can get a really good overview. And I'm going to talk about my first impressions on those changes. Now, like I said, I haven't played it yet, so there's certain things that I'm going to be honest with you that I really don't know if it's a good change or a bad change. Some things are just kind of interesting that they change, and some things are kind of like, oh, I wonder why they changed that. And a lot of things have remained mostly unchanged. Second off, I've combed through the rule book multiple times already. I got it pretty much the midnight that it came out. I happened to be up and I checked my iPad and it was downloaded, so I started reading it. So I've read through it already a bunch of times, and so, but I'm still going to make mistakes. I know it. I'm not going to say I might make mistakes. I'm going to say I will make mistakes, and I need your help. I need you to point out things that I make mistakes of in these video series, so feel free to post comments below, and then thumb up the comments where people have already pointed out a mistake rather than posting it again. And the second thing is things I have missed. Sometimes there are really subtle changes to the rules that actually have a really big impact. And I think I've gotten everything, but I know in the end that there's always going to be those little things. So tell me what I get wrong and tell me what I miss. But for the most part, I have really read through, I've done my research, and I've made lots of notes so that we can do this. And before I get into this, we also have an important announcement to make. See this? This is the Munitorum thingy. It's the limited edition 40k 7th edition thing. Basically open it up and it's got a small version of the rule book, which is kind of handy. It's got the tactical cards and the psychic cards, and then if you actually open up this box, it's got objective markers, and it's got all the books that come with your normal non-limited edition one, and it comes with a couple extra books as well. One of them is a picture book, basically, and the other one is a huge map of the 40k universe. So what does that matter? We're giving 2 of these away. Now, how can you win one of these 2, and you can only win one of them, you can't by any chance win 2 of them, of these 2 limited edition 40k 7th edition. This is in Canada, this retailed for $400, and you can win them. The first way is by being a Vault member. Sometime next week-ish, sometime in the month of June, I'm just going to randomly choose a Vault member, whether you're in your trial or not in your trial. So you could be a trial Vault member, or you can be a full-fledged Vault member. I'm just going to randomly choose one, and they get the Warhammer 40k limited edition thing. I'm pointing to it off camera. It's right here. It's huge and it's heavy. So all you have to do is be a Vault member. So there'll be links below to joining the Vault. Of course, being a Vault member supports us and allows us to make all these videos and yada, 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 all that kind of stuff. The second one, there's going to be more explicit instructions in the video description below and what you have to do, but you won't have to be a Vault member, so no purchase required for the other one. So go ahead, in the description below, it'll give you details of what you need to do in order to win the other one. So, and it'll give you guidelines for when we'll be picking winners and everything else like that. So this is going to be a bunch of videos that I'm going to be releasing over the next few days. And this first video is just a little bit of an intro. And I also just want to quickly go over some of the things that haven't really changed, and then some of the things that changed that don't really fit in any other category. And then every other video is going to be themed on a specific thing. For example, what hasn't changed? And I got all my notes right here just so I don't make any mistakes. Well, the movement phase has pretty much remained unchanged. Now, I say pretty much because there's been changes to some of the ways that difficult terrain works and cover and all that kind of stuff. But in dangerous terrain, they've clarified some things there, but in the end, it's pretty much remained unchanged. Weapon types such as heavy and rapid fire and salvo, that kind of stuff really hasn't changed, except for multiple barrage, which we'll talk about in another video. They have added the bomb special weapon, or the bomb rule for the weapons, and it gives more details on that, because they have been introducing flyers that have bombs. But other than that, they haven't really added any new types. Most of the shooting phase hasn't changed, but there has been one change that makes a big difference for a few things. And once again, I'm not going to talk about that in this video because I'm going to have a whole video just on the shooting phase. Morale mostly hasn't changed. And I'm not talking about the morale and the environment around here since 4th edition's changed. I mean morale tests, like pinning tests. Obviously, that's what I meant. It's a bad joke, sorry. Unit types haven't really changed, like infantry, jump infantry, jetpack infantry, all that stuff. There have been some subtle changes to the rules that they have, and there have been changes to things like flying monsters, creatures, and flyers a little bit, but for the most part, it's just been the Jink rule has been updated, which we'll cover in the shooting phase video. Some of the changes that have happened that I want to just quickly go over is they've pretty much added in the escalation rules. What are the escalation rules? Those are the rules that allow you to bring gargantuans and super heavy vehicles into a normal game of 40k. Now, those rules were already allowed, it's just now that they're actually included in the main rulebook. Now, they don't actually include all the data sheets and slates and all of the what else was it? And all the scenarios that come with the escalation book. So you still need to, or you don't have to, but you can still purchase the escalation rulebook, which will give you access to all of those things. And so it doesn't replace that book at all. It just incorporates a lot. Like, it contains all the rules for gargantuan creatures, super heavies, including super heavy flyers and super heavy walkers. It includes the rules for destroyer weapons, and the destroyer weapon rules have changed. I would say that destroyer weapons have received a nerf, that they're no longer quite as powerful as they were, although they're still very powerful. And there are actually ways to get saves against it now. So when somebody's hitting you with a destroyer weapon, if they roll a 1, now it does nothing whether you're a vehicle or not, whereas before vehicles were pretty much, they were dead if they got hit by a destroyer weapon. And if you roll a 6, then most likely what you're hitting is going to be completely obliterated, no saves whatsoever allowed. But anything else, 2 to a 5, they're strong, but not as strong as they were before, which I think is good, because destroyer weapons were a little weird, kind of a little ridiculous, but I didn't really care because, like I always say, I don't play 40k competitively, so I'm not really worried about showing up to my local gaming store for a friendly tournament and just getting my butt kicked by people who bring escalation units and all that stuff into a normal game. So it's okay. I find that just fine. The buildings, the way buildings worked has changed a little bit. The majority of the rules have stayed the same, but now they've added rules that allow you to, when you leave a building, you get to assault. And I don't think that was in 6th edition, although I have to admit that my knowledge of the building rules in 6th edition are probably not the same as my knowledge of other areas that I use a lot more often, but I'm pretty sure you couldn't. They also made it a lot more clear how the sentry guns on them work, how the battlements work, and things like that. So they've really, what I've found overall is they've really tightened up a lot of the rules, which is saying something, because this is Games Workshop with 40k, and normally 40k is very ambiguous in a lot of areas. I'm sure we're still going to find plenty of ambiguities in the 40k rulebook, which is, you know, that's whatever. You just have to kind of accept it for what it is. So before I even get to video 2, we're almost at the end of this one, I just want to give my first overall impressions. And I have to say, I'm happy. Cautiously optimistically happy. And I see cautiously optimistically because, like I said, there can be those subtle changes that can really make a big difference. I know flying monsters creatures took a bit of a hit, and smash attacks and poison and that kind of stuff. There's going to be complaints. I know some people aren't going to like the new psychic phase, but I do. I actually like a lot of the changes they made. I like the changes they made to the shooting phase. I like the subtle changes they made to some of the special rules. Overall, I have to say that I just like it. I think it's good. Is it 7th edition? It's more like a 6.5, but there are certain things that changed a lot. Like adding the psychic phase in is going to completely change the way the game feels if you use psychers. If you don't use psychers, then you're not even going to care. And so that's a major change, which would warrant calling it 7th edition. I know that Games Workshop doesn't call it 7th edition, so it's not even really a question. It's more like, how do we treat it? Do we treat it as a 7th edition or a 6.5? I would say to treat it as a 7th edition because the psychic phase really, really kind of rocks the foundation of it. And then they've made a lot of fundamental changes in other areas that normally all those changes put together, I would call it 6.5. But because it's included with the psychic phase change and all the new mission types and the Unbound and the Force Orgos, all that stuff, I'd call it 7th edition and not 6.5. So I'm happy with it overall. Cautiously optimistic because I have yet to play a game. So let's just jump right into the other videos. You can, we're going to be posting these. I don't know how many I'll post today. There might be posting one per day. But just stay tuned as we go through the rest of it. And don't forget about our contest. If you want to win one of these, one of 2 of these that we have, be a Vault member, automatically in the contest. And you can do both actually. If you're a Vault member, you can do the other one. It gives you 2 chances to win, although you can only win one of them. There will be instructions in the video description below that tells you how you can win the other one. As always, this is Matthew from MiniWarGaming. Thanks for watching. I got that as always from Jay. Yeah. I totally did. It's like, as always. That's what Jay says. Stole your line, Jay. Sorry. Happy wargaming.
We work so you can play.